Very good morning, children. Till now, in standard 12, we have discussed only the topics whatever we have already studied in standard 11. That is, in 11th standard, whatever we have studied, all those concepts we have revisited in the past two chapters, that is, chapter 1 and chapter 2. From now on, we are going to understand the whole new concepts in Python. So in chapter 3, what we are going to understand is that we are going to understand functions. The chapter 3 is about working with function. In this particular chapter, what we are going to understand is that we are going to have introduction about function. We are going to understand the functions, how to define the functions in Python, how the flow of execution of program gets changed when using functions in a Python program. What do you mean by passing parameters? What are all the different ways of passing parameters that we are going to understand? Returning values from functions, right? Okay, how the values can be returned from a function, the composition of function, and the scope of a variable, global scope and local scope. Okay, all these are totally new concepts that we are going to understand in this. Okay, so please listen carefully. Let us get into this chapter. First, let us understand the need for function. Before we get into the actual definition of function, first let us understand the need of function. Why we need function? Why we have to use function in Python program? What will happen if you do not use function? Normally in the software development, okay, so when you take any software, the software consists of thousands and thousands lines of code. All these lines will not be written as a one single program. It will be divided into number of small modules according to the functionality, and then it will be written either by a same person or by the number of persons. Right. So take a small example, school administration. When you take a school administration, it will be having a number of tasks to be performed. Okay, students result generation, teachers salary, and then a lot many. Okay, so admission. Okay, there are number of tasks to be performed in the school. All these tasks will not be written as a one single program. Instead, it will be divided into small modules. Okay, so we call it as modules or a subprogram or functions also. Okay, so that is the need for function. Even in a particular module, you will be having n number of function, right? Okay, so it is not possible to write a complete software as a one single program. It is not possible. It is very difficult to do so. Okay, so if you divide the task and if you give it to the separate person, or even if you are going to develop your own software, okay, it will be very easy to do the maintenance and then error checking, verification, everything is very easy when you divide your program into number of modules. So if you take students result generation, if you take it as a separate module, then what are all the input that are required for doing the result generation? Okay, only that you will be concentrating. That module alone you will be able to write it and then check it separately, right? Got some idea? So that is what the need of function, right? Okay, so now let us get into what you mean by function. A function is a subprogram that acts on data and often returns a value. A function is a subprogram, right? Okay, it is a part of the program. It is a small program that you write that acts on a data, that is, we are writing all the programs and software to deal with the data and to generate the output, right? So it will act on the data. We have already used a number of functions in our earlier programs. Say for example, len is a length, len of, okay, so that is a function, built-in function, so which will tell you number of elements in the program. So it will act on whatever the sequence that you pass it as an argument, and then it will tell you number of elements that are present in that particular sequence. Okay, so that is the reason why it is called as a function is a subprogram that acts on data and often returns a value. So what is the return value from the function? It will return the number of elements from the particular sequence, right? Okay, it is not necessary that every function must return a value, but many of the time the function will return a value. A function is a named unit of a group of statements, okay, for a set of statements. Okay, so to calculate the student result, to calculate the grade, and then to calculate the average mark, what are all the statements to be written? For those set of statements, I will be giving a name, and that name can be used later to refer the particular set of coding. That is what a function is. Okay, that is why it is called as a function is a named unit of a group of statement. For the group of statements, you are going to give a name. Okay, so in that way also you will be able to define a function. Functions helps to avoid ambiguity. So what do you mean by ambiguity? When you write thousands of lines of code, okay, so it is very difficult to manage, and then for the error checking and the verification every time, it will become very tedious job. Okay, so if you use small functions in your program, then it is very easy to maintain a particular lines of code, a particular set of statements. Okay, so in that way it helps you to avoid the ambiguity. Functions helps to reduce program size. How it helps you to reduce the program size? Okay, so for example, if I am having thousands of students, I will not be writing the code for evaluating the result, okay, 1000 times. Instead, I will be writing it only once, and then I will be calling it whatever may be the number of times that you want. Okay, so you can write a set of statements, the function, what are all the tasks that you will be using it very frequently, that you will be writing it as a function, that you will be writing it as a named part, and then you will be using it repeatedly whenever you wanted to use it in the program. Thereby it reduces the program size. Functions increases the readability of a program. So what do you mean by readability of a program? Readability is nothing but you will be able to understand your program better, right? Okay, so if I'm having only 25 lines of code, means then it is very easy for you to read and understand. Instead of going through hundreds and hundreds of coding, I'm going to understand first 25 lines, another 30 lines, next 30 lines, whatever. Okay, whatever the particular functionality, it increases the readability, it helps you to understand the program better. Okay, so that is the need of function. Okay, so that functions, how to write a function in Python, that is what we are going to understand in this particular chapter. What are all the various points that you need to understand to write effective functions, we are going to learn in the coming sessions.